All right, welcome. It is Monday. This is the science lesson for today. This will be out of page 118 to 121. There's a quiz that will go over the questions in the back of this section. So we're going to be talking about vertebrates today. So vertebrates, as you know, are animals that have backbones. Vertebrates are usually much larger than what we studied last time, the invertebrates, the ones without backbones. The reason for that is backbones, if you have one, it allows you to be heavier. It allows you to be able to weigh more and be taller, and you won't collapse because the invertebrates do not have a backbone. They would just collapse into a pile of mud, basically. Um, so the vertebrates, there's three different classes, three different groups of vertebrates. There are the fish, amphibians. I shouldn't say there's five classes. There's fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. So let's start with fish. Fish come in many different shapes and sizes. Some characteristics do identify them as fish. Every single fish breathes through gills, and they are what we call cold-blooded. Cold-blooded animals have to find warmth or coolness from somewhere in their environment. They can't do it themselves. If they're hot, they have to find somewhere cold to cool down. If they're cold, they have to find somewhere hot to warm up. We as humans, we are warm-blooded. We can do it on our own. But fish are cold-blooded. They need to find heat or coolness. And one way you can separate fish into even more groups is if you talk about what their skeletons are made out of. So let's start with the first kind. The first kind we call cartilage fish because their skeletons are made out of cartilage. We're talking about sharks. We're talking about skates, and we're talking about rays. You can see the sharks and the rays in this picture here. Cartilage is like bone. It's what your nose is made out of. It's softer, it's bendable. Your ear even is made out of cartilage, and the skeleton of these animals you see on this page are made out of cartilage as well. Rays and skates, they what you might call a stingray, but they're just generally called rays or skates. They have wings that are made of skin. Makes them look like stealth bombers if you've seen one of those. The rays have a whip-like tail that makes them very dangerous. Those are painful stingers on the end of the tails. The rays and the skates, as well as the sharks, they have mouths at the bottom of their body. You see the shark, the mouth is on the bottom. It's not in the front like ours. So whenever they eat, they have to eat whatever is below them. Sharks do have a reputation for being very dangerous in the ocean. Mostly, though, sharks eat small fish and plankton. The largest sharks, such as the whale shark and another shark called the basking shark, they filter everything they eat through their gills. So they get everything they need just by filtering it out. So that's cartilage fish. Then we have what you might think of traditionally as a fish, a bony fish. The bony fish have skeletons made of bone. Their skeletons are stronger, they're harder. They live in freshwater and in saltwater. The pictures you see here are freshwater fish. This is a bluegill and a trout. They're usually pretty mild in color. You can see they have a little bit of color, but not much. Most fish have scales, but some, like a catfish, only have skin. They don't have scales, they have skin. Now, if you look at these next one, these are saltwater fish, much brighter. They use their coloring for camouflage or for attracting food. The flounder, the one on the top, you can see it uses its camouflage to appear to be just like the ground of the ocean. So it can avoid detection. Now on the left, you can see what's called the butterfly fish, and it has an eye that makes it look much bigger than it actually is. And then you can see the eel. The eel there is a fish, but it mimics the appearance of a snake, so they really like to stay away from it. The seahorse is another interesting fish. It is a fish that uses its shape to blend in with seaweed. It kind of has a curly shape to it, so it kind of looks like seaweed. It's a bony fish. So God has given these fish what they need to survive. Let's move to the next thing, amphibians. Amphibians are animals that live part of their life in water and part of their life on land. Frogs, toads, salamanders, these are all types of amphibians. And the word amphibian comes from what its meaning is double life. And what that means is, like I just said over here on the top of this page, they live the beginning of their life in water and the other part on land. They're also cold-blooded, just like fish are. When they're adults, they don't have gills, they have lungs. Their skin also helps them breathe, though. Most of them lay eggs in the water, and then the eggs hatch into what we call tadpoles. That's the larval stage. They hatch into tadpoles, and then the tadpoles turn in to frogs eventually. But tadpoles are very easy for other animals to eat, so it's very hard to go from a tadpole to a frog because they're so unprotected. Eventually, the tadpoles lose their gills, they start growing legs, they start moving into the land. And then the frogs and toads, and even tree frogs, all look very similar, but there's a way to tell them apart. Frogs have smooth skin, and they always live near water. They have large legs for jumping. Toads have short legs because they only hop short distances. And they have a nubby skin. The toads lay their eggs in chains, but frogs lay their eggs in clusters. Frogs and toads are not the only amphibians, though. There's also salamanders and newts. You may have seen them before. They're very brightly colored, and they live in moist areas. Amphibians are useful to humans because they eat insects, such as flies, such as mosquitoes. And so the things that we consider pests, amphibians consider it a delicacy. Okay, now it's your turn. So go to page 118 to 121, read it over, and then find the Google document quiz on Google Classroom and fill that out when you feel like you have mastered this content. Have a great day.